What's up, everybody? Thralls here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have an album review, and kind of like a bonus one for the last week of October. We don't care that it's November right now. We're still pretty much in October.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, most of the good holidays are fucking done now, so yeah. So today, we're going to go over something a tad more underground and get into some cool black metal. We're going to go over the latest album from Jordfäst, of Stoft. Now, Jordfäst means grounded, and of Stoft means of fabric. Now, this is their second album, came out on the 28th of October on Nordvist Production. This band formed in 2017 in Sweden, and this is their second album overall, and actually features someone that we've met.
Ellis Markskog from Birdflesh, the guitarist and lead vocalist, who actually chased us down out of the venue at MDF to tell us he knew who we were, which was strange. He plays all instruments on this album except for drums, and then he is responsible for the clean vocals and the choral vocals found throughout this record. The drummer Joachim Unger from also the band Cursus Bellum and Yardboard. Look, Ellis told me, he even sent it to me in a voice message. Yeah, I'm not real certain, but I'm gonna hunt it down. And then vocalist Olaf Bengstrom? Bengstrom?
We're gonna butcher a lot of stuff.
We're not Swedish.
Definitely not Swedish.
Sorry.
We're not Canadian either, just for clarity. Now, I was interested in this one because, well, I love Birdflesh. I think they're a fucking awesome band. They deliver a fuck ton of fun to grindcore.
Coffin fucker!
And this is totally different than that. This is very, like, epic, dreary black metal. In fact, this album is comprised of 2 songs, both over 15 minutes long, with loads of transitions and mood shifts. And that is the exact opposite of Birdflesh, which is 1 minute of hilarious brutality, and then it's on to the next minute and a half of hilarious brutality. Now, both of these tracks are in Swedish, much like all the lyrics, so in terms of lyrical stuff, I can't necessarily tell you what they're talking about, but a lot is conveyed in terms of the mood and the atmosphere in here. The opening track, Abortologen, which I believe is abortionology. That's how we say it in Americanese. And
Americanese.
Yeah, that's what we speak here in the Americans. Starts off with what sounds like crackling fire, and then you get these chanted vocals, and believe me, these chants are kind of all over the place. It's really cool. Like, it kind of gives it like a enslaved-like feel. And
yes,
I'm
very much so.
Die-hard enslaved fan, and then it immediately explodes into this absolutely sad, dreary tremolo riff with a slow groove to it. And kind of the sadness is a big part of the sound, but it's also, again, this shifts around. There's a lot of different moods on here, but this opens up in just sort of like gloriously dreary fashion.
Dreary, dark, and cold. The wonderful things about black metal. Actually, the choral vocals are kind of neat. Actually, I was told that they are 28 tracks of choral vocals. 28 tracks.
It sounds like an army of very sad Vikings. Like, they're coming home from a battle they did not win.
It's definitely very melodic, though. There's 2 main riffs that stay present throughout the song. One is a melodic tremolo that comes in and out at various points, and then one is this just big kind of chunky, I don't know, I don't want to even, there's nothing really flashy. It's just really simple and straightforward, but I dig it.
It's very driven by melody. Like, if I was to compare this to any other bands, I would say very similar to like Necrophobic or Dissection, and even in the more folky moments that pop up later on, I would say like a band like Kalma, like minus maybe the death metal influence. Like, there's a little bit of thrash in here, but it's how these songs sort of move around, and the fact that we learned that all the lyrics were essentially like a novel sent to Ellis, and then it was sort of constructed into a song. I initially wrote down when I was listening to this that I thought that there was a narrative to this, because it feels like there's a storytelling aspect in terms of the dynamic shifts and the breaks in terms of intensity. And I guess I was right on that, because like that is essentially what happened.
Each record that they have, Ellis gets sent a novel, and then it's up to him to write the music around this novel. So it kind of flows in that aspect too, in that way. Very dramatic, thematic as far as the song structure goes. But it does well to really tell a story, even though I, again, have no idea what they're saying because it's in Swedish.
It does convey it well with like the emotion, though.
Yep.
because you get these great peaks and valleys. Like, again, that repeated dreary riff that comes through. It's sort of like an anchor point, and that sort of like works as like a chapter break, I guess. And then there's sections on here where it gets kind of thrashy. There's like some nasty blast beats. There are some droning riffs that sort of come in too that just add a lot of atmosphere, and you get like a lot of dissonant lead melodies. Tons of them. In fact, there's some of them that kind of sound similar to Mastodon.
That's what I thought too. More so in the second song, Come Eld, Come Rain.
Come fire, come rain.
Yes.
That's how we say it in the Americans.
In Americanese.
Yes.
Yeah. More so in like the third and fourth movement of the second song is where those Mastodon riffs come in. I like the end of the first song where it leads out with a piano and Ellis sings quietly over some birds chirping, and a good way to close that track as a break.
Honestly, the atmosphere in here is really cool. Like, there's a lot of isolated sections where it's either like an isolated riff, isolated vocals, but there's also like cool like background ambience, like rain falling, or like wind and water, or like a fire crackling, or birds chirping in the background. Kind of similar to like a band like Wolves on the Throne Room that has that sort of like Cascadian black metal feel, albeit it's not, you know, in the Cascades. This is in Sweden, but still, like, I like that sort of in tune with nature sort of thing. And again, that adds a lot of cool dynamics. And again, these songs like to shift around, and I like the fact that both songs are decidedly different, almost like in terms of mood and everything too. Like, they're very different.
Yeah, the second song I think is definitely heavier than the first song. A lot more groove oriented. You get a lot more thrashy moments. There's even some flat out death metal moments in the second song, but a lot more groove.
Yeah. I think the faster sections definitely have like more of a thrash sound to it. Like, it reminded me more of like a band like R Noir, like straight up blackened thrash. But the melodies that kind of carry it, like, kind of strip back a little bit of that doomy misery and add folkiness. Like, it has sort of that enslaved sort of Viking chant to it. And I think the chants on this song are even more effective because it does sound like a dreary army of sullen Vikings this time. Like, you know, it works. Like, it sounds like you're trudging back from defeat. And again, I kind of like that whole sort of like dark mood on here. But there are sections on here that are decidedly triumphant. Like, I don't know, like they found a village to burn. It's like, well, we can do that at least. That'll be something. Both of these songs are like two separate sprawling epics, and I like that. Again, the peaks and valleys, the dynamics that are in there, the transitions in here are really smooth and really interesting too. And I like how moody this is. Like, it doesn't stay down in the dumps. Sometimes it rises up and conquers something or other, but it does it with great songwriting and great riffs and a lot of melody. Like, the melodic hooks in here I think are very fucking strong. The drum work I think is particularly solid. I like the harsh vocals. I think the harsh vocals, I mean, I like all the vocals, but the harsh vocals have like a nice dark sinister edge. Again, I have no idea what he's saying, but it sounds kind of scary.
Yeah, it's got that normal kind of higher pitched black metal scream to it, but then again in the second half it's almost like barked vocals and a little bit of death growl. It's in there. I heard it twice. It doesn't appear often, but it again, the second song being a lot darker and a lot just drearier, and maybe that is the trudge back from battle as they pillage one last town. I'm actually really curious to know
what it's all about.
What it all is now. I'm gonna reach back out. I'm gonna reach back out to Ellis and be like, all right, now tell me what this is about.
It was about a trip to the grocery store I had. Stepped in a puddle, got my sock wet.
Dude, I stepped in a puddle today at work and got my sock wet. I'm still pissed, and that was hours ago.
And of course, because we talk about production all the time, I have to say I really enjoyed the production here. This was actually done by William Blackman of Gadget. He plays guitar, drums, and does vocals for that amazing grindcore band, and he did a great job on here. My only issue, I think, on this was sometimes I thought the vocals might have been a little bit loud in the mix, like a little too out front, especially towards the end of the last track, Kom Eld Kom Ren, or Rain, there's, I don't know, Rain, we'll call it Rain. That last part, granted, it is an amazing crescendo. Like, it really captures the end of the song. Like, it's just very victorious, I guess. But
triumphant.
But the vocals come in kind of loud on that one, and it kind of drowns out the really epic riffs that are going on. But outside of that, I really don't have a lot of complaints about this. Like, this is just really solid, well-written black metal, and it's more to like my kind of black metal that I like. Like I'm kind of particular about the genre. I like that it's very riffy, it's very epic. The atmosphere is very engaging on here, and I really dig the songwriting. Like overall, like they made 2 very long tracks and made them both very engaging listens just because of all the dynamics that are packed in there, and still made it riffy and catchy. So overall, I'm gonna give this 4 stars. I think this is fucking excellent. Now I want to actually check out their first one. And Ellis, if you're watching, I need a CD, so let me know how to order that if they are stateside already. Not like I need more CDs, but I need more CDs. If you're a big fan of Dissection, Enslaved, Necrophobic, I think you're definitely going to find a ton of stuff on here. This is very melody driven, but it gets unbelievably heavy at times too. Again, loads of atmosphere. This is just solid. I fucking dig the fuck out of this, and I recommend you check it out if you like any of the bands that I mentioned.
What can I say that Nick hasn't already said? Word for word, almost verbatim. All the wonderful things I was going to say, Nick said. No, I give it 4 myself. This is the 3rd time I've listened to it. For 2 songs at 15 minutes apiece in black metal, sometimes that doesn't go real well.
Sometimes it does.
Sometimes it does. In this case, it did. Sometimes it doesn't go real well. But these songs and the way they're constructed and put together, albeit on Spotify at least, maybe they didn't need to break it up into 9 different segments.
Spotify can suck my butthole.
But the ebb and flow of all these songs and the way that they end up real high and then they go kind of low and then they drop off a little bit and then they end up high, and then there's that kind of variance when you piece together a song. Like the pacing of everything went really well, that kept your attention flowing. And even the times when it was somber and just singing with crickets in the background, like it was still engaging because you could feel the emotive of the songs come together.
I think it was birds. They probably say
birds,
beards.
crickets, fire,
Beards.
Crackling, wind, rain,
Swedish
thunder.
beards.
I especially like at least the second song and how heavy that got, and that was just kind of really cool to listen to. But being this my first experience with this band, I really fucking dug it. It was a good listen. It's definitely, again, well produced. Everything is crystal clear. So many layers on all of these songs, but everything fit together so nicely and perfectly that nothing drowned anything out. So you really got to hear the composure of all these going on versus losing some things in the background. Ellis, I also need a CD, bud. I don't know how the hell we'd get a CD of this, but I figure you might be the man to ask since you sent it to me. If you were fans of pretty much everyone that Nick mentioned, band-wise, then you're probably really gonna dig this. And if you're not, listen to it anyway, you fuck, because you're probably gonna like it.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon if you'd like to help us out there. There's a link down below in thrallsofmetal.com where our Patreon link also lurks. There's also our store there. We have t-shirts. We will have other merch eventually. We also have audio episodes of some of our episodes. I don't know. We got new ones up there yet.
I don't know what the hell's happening.
I don't know. Maybe but they are there.
They are there in case you don't want to look at our faces, and trust me, I get it. I can't even hardly look in the mirror in the morning, but, you know, and this guy, for sure.
I don't like looking in your mirror either.
It's like nausea. Just waves of crushing nausea. Anyway, that brings us to the thank you portion of the video, where we get all awkward and weird as we thank each and every one of you for continuing to watch these videos, for continuing to comment, for continuing to reach out to us, just continuing to show us that what we do is valuable, which is pretty fucking neat, because I never would have guessed in a million years that 4 years after we started this madness that we'd still be sitting in this basement talking to you about metal.
And I'm just gonna thank you one more time just for good measure, because we haven't said that word enough. So thank you once again, and we will catch you later.